Assalamu alaikum, welcome back. I'm here with my sister Rifat Rehman, and we're talking about her journey from Pakistan to Bradford, you know, a 28-year journey in the making, and actually how she's made Bradford her home for herself and her family and is contributing to society in lots of different ways. So thank you and welcome again.
Yeah. Thank you for having me back.
Fantastic,
you might just
obviously.
let's say finished.
No, we're not done with you yet. So before the break, we were just starting to talk about, so what is a healthy marriage and what is our relationships, you know, because we talked a little bit about forced marriages, we've talked a bit about arranged marriages, talked a little bit about the modern day phenomena, which is modern day slavery actually, unfortunately, in lots of different descriptions. And then we were talking a bit about the example the Prophet left, you know, with how in the hadith he was with his wives and his daughters, and actually why aren't we following that? Because actually, you know, we've touched a bit on domestic violence and you know, loveless marriages as well.
Because we're not following the sunnah. We just, you know, basically it's a bit of culture and the religion and all this mixed up. And but our religion, Islam, doesn't teach any basically violence. Always so peaceful, and especially in a marriage, if any hadith or sunnah you read, it's so nice. And you know, there was a hadith I was reading, Prophet used to compare a woman to a flower. You have to look after a flower, you water her, you know, these are the things sometimes we're missing. We don't go back to sunnah, we don't go back, and we just find a little bit of negativity. And we all think all the marriages are the same, but it's not.
Yeah, because if you understand even a little bit, I'm not going to pretend to say I understand our religion. A lot of the people who convert to Islam are actually women, and it's because they do their research and realise that in Islam women have an elevated position, they have a high position, you know, alhamdulillah, there's so much respect, and yet when you sometimes see the interaction in daily life, the way not everybody, you know, and please don't think we're saying all men are this way or all women are that way. But in some circumstances, in some households, sadly still, women are treated like second-hand citizens, which is, you know, horrible, and must lead to a bit of an unhappy life. So how do we, you know, how do people start to fix that and think about that?
Yeah, when we're talking about, just generally talking about, it's not just in basically a Muslim household happening.
Absolutely not.
You just name it. We live in a multicultural
society.
Country in here, and you can see in a white family, I grew up like, you know, with so many different people, and you can just see it all the time. But I think for us as a sister, we sometimes need to be, you know, reflect on our own marriages and see where we need to make a little bit of patience, and my husband needs to have a bit of patience, because love marriage or arranged marriage, force is wrong, but sometimes people made out of a forced marriage too as well, because they respected each other. Whatever happened to us, let's move on, and you know, they found some mutual respect, and I think that's is a respect for each other.
That's really interesting, because a few years ago I met this lady, a professional. It was a few years ago now, and when we were talking about, because I'd said to her I've been married 18 years or something by now, and she was really surprised, and then we started talking about, and she was a Muslim woman, and we started talking about marriage and arranged, and she said to me very openly, she said, Amri, she goes, mine was a forced marriage, no doubt about it, you know, but actually my husband was a really decent bloke, so by living together and slowly getting to know each other, the respect developed. So all that was wrong, and she admitted it 100%, and she said, I was, you know, very independent, but at the end of the day, my parents were determined I was going to marry him, even though I was saying I didn't want to. And I think at that point she'd said they'd been married 25 years, grown up children. So alhamdulillah, they carried on and they, you know, made it work for them. But it was conscious. They had to work at it. And she was saying he was such a decent man, you know, he was determined to, he was kind, he was gentle, he was supportive, he helped her in her career. She was really significantly high up in an organisation, I won't say where, you know, but it's not right, so you know, we need to be aware of that, but people can make it work. But what other kind of things? I mean, we've talked about compromise, and my other thing is
sport, a bit like we were talking about, you know, some sisters coming back from home, and education was just supporting them at home. It's nothing wrong with, you know, with a bit of sport with the dinner, or a bit of sport picking children, because sometimes some brothers said that's children's job is just sisters, and then they can continue with their career or their job. But having little bit equal, you know, help for the wives at home as well, and then they can have a bit of free time to do whatever they want to do. Like we said in the beginning, we're not talking about every woman have to be a, you know, career mad and have to have a job, have something for themselves to feel good. And then they'd be happy as well when they come home and the wives are happy, you know. And if you, you know, just stay all day alone, you don't have no friend, you can't get out, you just got the kids, and you do feel a bit down and unhappy.
A few years ago, we were doing a consultation exercise in with women from, in that instance, they were all Bangladeshi, I think, and we were talking about domestic violence, and all the women said, you know, alhamdulillah, we're okay, our husband doesn't, you know, he's not physical with us, and this, that and the other. And then it was really interesting, because when I said, oh, but what about your finances, who controls your finances, who, and it was like, my husband, who decides if you go out, my husband, my mother-in-law. So then we started talking about mother-in-laws, and it was really interesting, because all the ladies were saying they felt their mother-in-laws were abusive to them, which was really interesting. Very sad as well, I must say. But then I just asked them a question which completely floored them all. And the question I asked was, well, when you become a mother-in-law, what are you going to do that's different? And they all went, nothing. If we've had to suffer this, and we've had to live this, then our daughter-in-laws can live this.
Exactly. This is something I come across as well, and I'm thinking, you know, you can be a bit better than your mother-in-law, because you had the, you know, time in here now. Think if something upset you and didn't have a time with your husband or the kid or your mother-in-law, you should be a better mother-in-law. But then again, it's for the brothers as well who are marrying somebody to have the boundaries, not to get their wives treated badly. You know, they have to speak up and say, look, you know, I respect you. I'm not saying they shouldn't respect the parents. That is, but they have to find some mutual respect for a wife and the mother, and then speak to a family. You
know, more and more I've been thinking with that, you know, we spend too much time following some traditions that are of no value. That's what gets me a little bit. We do stuff as families, you know, just because that's the way we've always done them. But why can't we develop friendships? Like I was saying the other day to my sister, I said, when I do stuff, I'm really busy, you know, alhamdulillah, that's a good thing as well, but I don't have a lot of time, a lot of spare time to do the things.
Really
but when I do, I don't want to do them because I'm a baby or something and I have to do it. I want to do it because I want to do it. I want to enjoy spending time with whoever I spend time with, whether it's my husband's side of the family, my side of the family, whether it's friends, whether it's neighbours. I want to do it because I like to do it. You know, do you understand the difference? If I say, oh well, you know, it's my duty, I'm the auntie, so I must do that. That's kind of a bit weak, actually. Isn't it better if I go, actually, I love spending time with you, and I'm more than happy to help you do that. That's a nicer way. So I don't know about you, but I find a little bit we're stuck in some sort of weird traditions, which are not really that helpful.
And it's not helping anybody. It's not helping mother-in-law if she's upset with the daughter-in-law. You can't do this. And it's not helping daughter-in-law to basically, you know, find our way of happiness. And so it's really funny what you said. It was a conversation with my husband yesterday. I saw this program I was watching, and their son and daughter was dancing or what, and they were so happy. And I said, I would love my son when he gets married to just see him happy like this. And I said, but why some people can't see, you know, because you see all this negativity sometimes with these in-laws. If the daughter-in-law and son is very happy and everything going, and they still have some problem, and as you think, why can't they be just happy for them? And that conversation started from, like I've said, I've got 21, turning 22. And whenever I have a conversation with my 19 and 21, and they always talk really respectful about women and why, you know, some people are not nice to a woman. You shouldn't be marrying them if you know, gonna be nice. And I always say, I've done a right job. You know, alhamdulillah. That is another, my, you know, basically message to sisters. If you have a son, please teach him from the beginning. You are a mother. If you want to be respected, tell him respect. That'll be somebody's daughter.
I mean, there's a saying that, because this is, although we're talking, you know, obviously we're both Muslim, and we are talking in terms in the Muslim community a lot of the time, but actually there's a saying in the broader Western world, which is, you know, the best thing a father can do for his children is treat their mother well.
Yeah.
you know, and it's kind of leading by example. And you're right, I don't
Exactly.
disagree with you.
Yeah.
Mums have a big
Yeah,
role
yeah,
in
yeah.
teaching their child,
exactly.
the male child to respect women,
Yeah.
and the female girl, the girls
Yeah,
actually to
yeah.
respect
They
themselves, because that's a
themselves.
big problem we've got in society at the
Yeah,
moment, is
yeah.
self-respect and how people measure
Yeah,
their value and
yeah.
worth. And unfortunately, you know, a lot of it is about looks and body image and all of that. So how do we grow girls who are really empowered and have self-respect and independence, but then understand how they relate to others, and boys, like you say. So what kind of things have you been talking to your boys about when you were raising them to get them to that stage where they're so respectful?
I think because I've said it to another sister, one of my English friend, I said, I find it more harder than you, because she talks about her own children. I said, you only got to, you know, talk to them about, don't do this. I have to talk to them about my own religion, how, you know, there's a lot of negativity there. I want them to keep their religion. I want them to go to mosque. I want to pray, but how to keep away from, you know what I mean, radicalization and all this. I do talk very openly about it. It's not for us, you know, whatever is happening is just the media. And then I have to talk to them about when they're out and about, you know, where they can go, where they can't go, how to respect basically other girls. If you're going out with anybody, you know, they can get pregnant, you know, but what is our Islam teaching us? And I'm very, very open with my boys. And sometimes they say, Mom, can you stop it? We know our religion, we know what we do. But I'm saying, I'm just trying to let you know these things can happen. And, you know, you have to respect.
And you have to guard against it as well.
And I'm continuing, and I'm not saying it's just me, it's my husband and me working together.
Yeah, and that's really important, isn't it?
And,
so
and when you see a lot of this negativity in the area, and we can't hide it, and it's a lot about, you know, going, I don't know whether I can mention, you know, this sexual exploitation of children, all this, but it's being open with your kids, because we can't not talk to them.
But it's when we don't talk about these things, you know, that's when other people start talking to the children.
Exactly.
And where you will give a balanced explanation of the things that are happening, other people will give a more biased one, you know, in one direction, and misinformed as well. So I think it is quite an Islamic thing. If you don't talk about, if you don't talk to your children about some of the challenges that they're going to face,
and especially
then
in Bradford, whatever we see, it's, like I said, I love Bradford. There's so much positive. Then look at that Love Bradford we did. Thousands of people were standing there, you know, side by side. That is the positive. We still work so together and help each other, but same time we have to work with our own families as well, what we can do, and bring up our own kids. That'll be the biggest challenge for all of us. And this is why I am very open with them, talking about anything and everything.
And then they can come and talk to you as well. I think that's quite important. And one thing I really like there, in fact, you were talking about your husband is a big part of that as well.
Yeah,
you know,
we make sure where they, like the other day said, you know, because my eldest one and my middle one play football and mad, and they were just asking him something, and he goes, I remember my back is, you know, hurting since I've been standing in the football ground with them to watch him. You sometimes you have to build. I'm not saying that mothers can't build up that relationship, but men and the boys, they have this thing where they can do some activities together and build up that relationship, where the sons can come, you know, to you if there's any problem.
Absolutely.
And this is what really at the moment is in my head in Bradford, where we see a negativity a lot in newspaper or media. There is less people who are doing what is happening, drugs and everything else, than more negativity. But how we can help and support our own youngsters. And this is something, again, I talk very open to my kids. And my middle one the other day, we were just talking about something, and he goes, I don't realize, Mom, what people get out of it. They're standing all day around, they're running around, they might be selling drugs, but they end up in jail. Why can't they keep it to their education, have a part-time? And I sit there and I enjoy that talk, and I say, I've done a good job. I am okay, alhamdulillah. You know, you just keep telling yourself.
And that's the best you can do. So I had another guest on here a few weeks ago, and we were talking about parenting isn't about control, really.
No.
It's about helping children develop their sense of right and wrong, develop their principles, develop their morals. Then, inshallah, when they do meet a situation where they can choose to go right or wrong, they'll go right anyway. Because you've taught them from very little.
That's what, you know, we sometimes worry, because as a parent you do worry when they go. But my heart tells me I taught them well. My children know, and I always never wanted to be too strict where you can suffocate your kids. Don't suffocate them. Let them
then they
fly.
have to rebel, don't they?
Yeah, and then I think that is another, having a fine balance.
So, you've been raising three alhamdulillah, three beautiful children, well managed, and you're doing your best. And one of the things that you've talked about is your volunteering in the past and your passion for social justice and for equal rights. Where were you yesterday?
Where was it? Oh, Future Leaders.
I know. Yesterday was Saturday. Were you not at the
March? Oh yes, not Future Leaders.
You were at the Women's March for Equality, weren't you?
Yes. Yeah. These are the things. It's very close to my heart, and I think we as a sister, we should stick together. It doesn't matter culture, religion, whatever, for our own rights, because there are a lot of work been done in the past. If we don't be careful, we can go back into the same.
Let me just explain to our viewers then where you were yesterday. So Rifat was at the Sisters March in Shipley, and these women's marches were taking place all over the world in support of equality for women and showing discomfort and displeasure at the growing rise of sexism and racism around the world, and particularly it was in reaction to the inauguration of President Trump in America. So your politics are your politics, and obviously it's everyone's right to choose and elect whoever they wish. But the objection is that obviously this is, in the West, and that's the other thing. Sometimes we give ourselves a hard time because we think it's just Muslim men, Muslim women who are like this. Sadly, sexism, racism, it knows no limits really. It's all over the place. So this march was taking place yesterday here in Shipley, and there were 1,500 people there.
Yeah, and so I want to mention my friend Rifat Bashir. She's always side by side, and she came along, and it was really, really good feeling. Really good, because you see all these people, and there were loads of brothers. And I remember having that banner when the man goes, I'm supporting my sister, I'm supporting my daughter, because they don't want that disrespect for their daughters.
Absolutely.
And I think this is some time, if we think it's a very small issue, but it's not, because if you go back 16th, 17th century of history, you see, women fought so hard to get all those rights, and if in 21st century we get treated back to the same words, and this is where it all starts. And we all have
and I think that's why there's such a reaction, because lots of people are worried about where this might take us, and the acceptability. So if you've got someone in such a key position who's openly racist or sexist and divisive, so it will filter down, because what it does is create an acceptability, and that's the thing where you just said, where does this start, and then where does this end? So sexism, it's awful, because when I look at my nieces, I did go and I took one of my young nieces with me, and I just think, alhamdulillah, our religion tells us women are equal, women have so many rights. We're very fortunate in the UK actually, and I feel very blessed. We go about our daily business, our home, our family, our work, alhamdulillah, for the most part, very little negative interactions actually. And then to think that slowly, because it's pervasive, isn't it? It happens bit by bit, by bit, that might change. So by the time, my younger nieces are older, my age, who knows what will have happened, and how much further it'll be how much harder it'll be for them in education, how much harder it'll be in the work environment. And we've talked a lot about sort of violence and unhealthy relationships as well. Do they disappear as well?
No, because this is something I think everybody's get really scared when he hears Donald Trump's, I don't know whether I can mention his speeches, because what he says in his speech, and if somebody's in such a key position, says stuff like that, and then how the public can say, if he can say, I can say, and it just becomes as a norm. And I'm so glad people already saying it. We don't want all this. We've left it behind for centuries, and why should we take it now? And I'm so glad, especially a lot of sisters came out and they said, we don't want all this type of...
It was just a very peaceful, very calm, very nice, dignified event, wasn't it? It was really interesting, because I spoke to one of the organisers, and she was saying, actually, Amri, I cannot believe 40 years later, I'm still So for 40 years, she's been sort of an anti-racist, you know, gender equality activist. And you know, she was saying, because I cannot believe 40 years after I started doing this, I'm still doing it. And, you know, that really made me shudder.
And I'm glad people, you know, we're still doing it, because if we stop it, then what is next generation going to pay the price? And this is again going back to, not it's just a Muslim country, it's not just whatever, it's everywhere, wherever you see there are issues. And if nobody speaks out, that is the time I think danger comes in, like nobody saying anything, and then people, you know, the speech like that can get away with it.
Well, we are actually in January, and January is also, next Friday is Holocaust Memorial Day. And that's, if you want further information, just look up the Holocaust Memorial Trust. And that, obviously, up and down the country, around the world, will be remembering what happened, how we got to the Holocaust, actually. If people didn't stand up, and people thought, oh no, it won't happen, it won't happen, no. And then look what happened, you know, one of the worst atrocities in history. Obviously this month we're also remembering Srebrenica, so there's lots of examples where racism, sexism, you know, discrimination, you know, discrimination based on colour and gender and ethnicity, you know. So if we think about the Holocaust, the number of Muslims who died in that, the number of gay and lesbian people who died, the Gypsy and Traveller community, the Roma, you know, the attempt to stop people having babies from different, you know, it was just horrendous, the stuff that happened. And I do think it's really important that, which is why I thought it was good that my young niece...
and it can happen again. And
exactly.
And that's the reason we always have to speak. When something wrong, like I was just having a conversation the other day, and I said, if I see something wrong, I want to speak out. But it might be that moment you think, oh my God, I can say this or not. But if something is not right, if I don't say it's not right, then who else is going to up out for you? Therefore, we have to continue fighting for our rights, our children's rights, and have them happy and prosperous life.
And understanding their role in society as well, actually, because it's not, this is something that worries me a little bit sometimes. It's not everyone, but there's lots of people, you know, in this country who just basically wake up, eat, sleep, go to work, maybe come home, and they don't get involved in their neighbourhood, and they don't get involved in their society. So I think, you know, alhamdulillah, we are so blessed, you know, there's such beauty in our religion, there's such beauty actually in our cultures as well, because you know, if it's not against your religion, it is of your religion. So alhamdulillah, we are blessed. There's so much. We are, but there are
use it for positive.
Exactly, we should use it, and people should look at us and think, oh my goodness, she's a good example of a Muslim, and I want to know more. Not like, oh my God, these Muslims are terrible and we don't want to have to anything to do with them. So I do think it is important. I do think all the things we've talked about today, the parenting, the journeys, you know, the taking the best from both worlds, because that's the other thing, you know.
That is you know, taking the best out of whatever situation you are, take the best out of it, work with it, and move on. Because sometimes we get stuck in something happen. It might be a culture or religion, whatever it is, and it happens, and we keep repeating. And by that time, you're wasting loads of time. You have to move on.
And I think, Rifa, unfortunately, our time together is nearly over. So thank you so much. I've really enjoyed speaking with you, honestly.
Thank you very much.
And we'll have to carry on the conversation. But just in summary, I suppose what we've kind of come round to here is that, you know, as Muslims, we're not supposed to just sit at home and be okay by ourselves, actually. If our neighbours, if our friends, if our family are not okay, we should be doing our bit to help to the best of our ability. So inshallah, you know, may Allah give us strength and help us be good and do good. So until next time, inshallah, assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much.